ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stupefied Steve. Just because of what just happened with this, we'll explain after we get through this. Joining me as my co-host is Delicious Dwaylen Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And this is actually the second time in the past 3 minutes we've hit record. The first time, for some reason, Dwaylen disappeared.
Yeah, everything just shut off. I hit OK and just gone. So I don't know.
Yeah, so that's why I'm stupefied. I have no idea what happened there. Oh, but amongst other confusing things, we have some more questions for some wrestling things going on right now.
Yeah.
Because there's been some things that have come up. I know you sent me 2 texts today, and I actually feel bad because I wouldn't say we've been neglecting AEW, but it's just, once again, all the bigger news is coming out of WWE.
Yeah, the only thing coming out of AEW right now is the Bucks and Kenny Omega are still persona non grata. They're not even mentioned on television or anything like that. Of course, they're still suspended as far as I know.
They made Tony mad.
Yeah. And then there was I think it was a week or so ago, there was a backstage altercation between Andrade and Sammy Guevara.
There was, because they've made that public.
Yeah, and there's some people are speculating that Andrade is trying to get fired from his contract so he can go back to WWE, especially since him and Charlotte are married, and Charlotte's supposed to be coming back to television soon. So I think Charlotte's going to come back to TV soon, and that's going to be Bianca's next feud will be against Charlotte.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't see Andrade trying to get himself fired. I just think Sammy Guevara is an annoying little
something.
Family friendly. And Andrade wasn't having it. So you think he'd stop. You think Sammy Guevara would stop. You already had the issue with Eddie Kingston.
Yep.
Which you're not going to win that. You're not going to win with Andrade. It's like, dude, just keep your mouth shut and shut up.
And it seems like the one thing he doesn't understand what he said about Eddie Kingston, that's like a major faux pas in wrestling anyway. You don't, it's not even like body shaming. It's, you don't call your opponent fat during a promo.
Yeah.
You don't touch on fat. You don't touch on age. Yeah. There's a couple other things you don't, because you're weakening them, which makes it look like you beat somebody who you consider to be weak, or somebody weak beat you.
Exactly.
You don't.
Either way, it doesn't do any good for either of you.
Exactly. And so now he's starting something with Andrade, who left WWE because he was having some, I don't want to say personality conflicts, but he was not getting pushed.
No, he wasn't getting pushed.
He should have been. But I think he probably gets along with Triple H. I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
I hadn't either. Triple H was the one who recruited him anyway from New Japan.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, because he's a former New Japan Pro Wrestling Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, well. Yeah, so he's proven.
Mm-hmm.
He's a proven commodity. And so, but besides that, really, there's not been the news coming out of AEW has just not been as boisterous, I guess, as the stuff coming out of WWE.
No, other than the Hangman Page promo, which was fantastic. Anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, please go check out the promo from last week by Hangman Page, because it was, my opinion, one of the top 5 best promos all year in wrestling from all the promos I've heard, and it was absolutely the best promo Hangman Page has ever done.
And if you really want to find a quick link to it, go to Dwaylen's Twitter at @fat_daddy73, because I know you've posted it.
I did. It is right there.
That is part of our contact and listening info. I'm going to do a little out of order now. Ooh, good segue. But if you want to email us, it's armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. You can find us on Instagram also at Armchair Booking Podcast. Find the podcast account at Booking Armchair, but you can find Dwaylen's, his Twitter account is fat_daddy73. You can find us on YouTube for the video platforms. For audio platforms, you can find us on just about any audio platform there is. If we're not there, let one of us know, let both of us know, let somebody know. And so we do whatever we can to get ourselves added. You can find our merch at tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast, which I have some merch that's on the way right now. Yeah, some of our merch. Yep. Mentioned a couple weeks ago that I had not ordered anything of our own for a while. So got a coffee mug, got a hoodie, and got 2 long sleeve t-shirts coming in.
Cool.
Yep. So, but there's all sorts of good stuff you can get there. I'd actually forgotten about it because I had not really looked at the site in a while. I just remembered all of it, and it just made me sad that the tumbler is no longer available. Hopefully they'll bring it back one day because it's a nice tumbler. I'm not gonna like it. I already have one. I've lost it, but I have one already.
Your dog took it.
She might have because she already chewed up the lid on it because apparently she could smell that coffee and she started chewing on it. That was actually the reason I wanted to get another one because I wanted a new lid. I was like, I might as well get myself a new tumbler. What do you mean you don't have it anymore? So. But as far as one of his other social media, you can find him also at Big and Fat on YouTube and on TikTok. Our podcast also has a TikTok channel, which is at Armchair Booking. And you can find my other podcast, The Cubicle Chat. You just do any kind of search, you can find it. There is no video platform, but there is audio platform, and Facebook, same thing. And I believe that's it.
I believe so. I think you got everything.
Yep. I do want to give a shout out to Ted the Hillbilly Hill because his new episode dropped. I knew there was something missing, and he didn't do one week before because he had been which we definitely get that busy.
Yeah, definitely.
But his recent episode is a little different. He's talking about heel turns in movies.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But he has a couple of guests on there from Ireland because they actually do wrestling and they also do other.
Okay.
So they were talking about it was pretty. I mean, he found a way to connect it to wrestling because Ted's a genius like that.
Yeah.
I also want to mention Wrestling with the Truth because Ted's the heel truth. Then you have Wrestling with the Truth out of Nova Scotia, Canada. Those guys are super awesome. We need to figure out some way to collaborate with them at some point. Even if it's not on one of our normal recording days. It wouldn't be the first time we've done that. So, because we have recorded, I think, every day of the week.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, because when we recorded with our friend Big Fat, so you have Big and Fat, then you have Big Fat. We did that on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we interviewed Roger Ruffin on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And of course, we know Mondays and Thursdays, and we've hit every other day too. So we are very flexible when it comes to that. We try to fit around everybody's schedule. Speaking of interviews, hopefully I have sent baby doll Nicola Roberts, the Perfect 10. I have sent her a message because she said she'd be more than happy to come on the show.
Awesome.
Yep, she has not responded yet to the message, but I'm gonna give it time. If not, I'm going to start harassing her. but that's a joke. People don't call the cops. No.
Yeah.
But I actually met her this past Saturday. I have a picture of it loaded up on Twitter at Booking Armchair. You can go see the picture of me and my son with her. She was nice as can be.
Cool.
And I finally got some closure about the whole cable thing because I think I told you about that where a little over 3 years ago she was having some issues with her cable and I happened to work for the company that and so I hit her up with a private message, just asked her what was going on, and so she was having some issues getting her stuff worked on.
Oh, okay.
And so so I made some phone calls down that way, and I found out some other info, and then I went through my channels where I'm at. And then, but once I fired off my email after that, it was like out of my hands.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, you remember when you were having problems with your cable like 3 years ago when somebody was helping you out? I said, that was me. And I asked her, so whatever came with it, she said, oh, she told me, it finally got fixed. And I was like, okay, good. So I finally got some clothes. I could sleep better at night knowing that, she was helped, thankfully.
Right.
But yeah, she was, like I said, super nice. Sweet as can be. I actually wanted to talk to her longer, but there was some guy, he had like a shopping cart full of stuff and he had like a list of names that he was checking, because he was getting everybody's stuff. I'm like, dude, can you give me a little bit? But
Yeah, can you give me a minute? Calm down.
yeah, seriously. But right after talking to her, she was parked right close to Jake the Snake.
One
Which
of my
was,
all-time favorites.
oh yeah. And have you ever seen him in person?
No, I have not.
He's a big dude. You know, he was never advertised as, it's kind of like Billy Gunn. You know,
Yeah.
Some of these guys are never advertised as being as big as what they are. He's about 6'6".
Oh wow.
Yeah, and when I saw him walking, in fact, I need to make sure because I took quite a few pictures. So I was going through, I was deleting some of them. I need to make sure I didn't delete one. You can actually see him standing up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's about 6'6", and I remember him being tall.
Yeah.
When he wrestled, but he was just never pushed as that.
Yeah. No, they never mentioned that, and it was like even when they said his weight, it was usually 240, 245, but he was so tall that he didn't look like a big guy.
Right. And of course he's over there, like Baby Doll's right here. And he's like over here, they're like catty corner to each other.
Mm-hmm.
She also had Warlord was on the other side of it. I didn't get a chance to meet him because nobody was free.
Right,
so,
right.
And I withdrew with about as much as what I wanted to spend, and I spent about a third of that on Tatanka. That one caught me off guard. Not that I mind, because Tatanka, he was super cool too.
Right.
I just was not expecting to spend that much. And I was in the line for Lex Luger, and somebody told me how much that cost, and I stepped right out the
line. It's like, sorry, Lex, but I gotta. No.
It was sad seeing Lex in a wheelchair. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But he looked to be in high spirits, which I was glad to see that. He was fist bumping people, and
yeah, I've seen interviews and stuff with him, and he seems to be like, dealing with life pretty well. But it is sad to see him from what we grew up watching.
Like
Lex Luger,
he had like one of the what you would think of a wrestler's body.
Oh yeah, and to see him now in a wheelchair, it's kind of like how it was with the Dynamite Kid. From what we remember him, especially teaming with Davey Boy, and then towards the end of his life, confined to a wheelchair and things like that. It's just it's the sad reality of pro wrestling that sometimes you don't make it all the way out in perfect health.
And all the wrestlers who talk about Lex now, they say he is a complete 180 as far as personality goes from the way he was when he was a wrestler. Yeah. They said when he was a wrestler, they said people they did not like him because he was kind of a jerk.
Well, and it's like everything, from everything that I've read, it's like, he had his close little group of friends, Sting and some other guys, but like he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because he did have that $1 million body, and he did get, came into the company, he came into Jim Crockett Promotions just like green as grass, and automatically gets aligned with the Horsemen. I mean, the top act in the company, and that's rubbing people the wrong way. He's getting all these big time matches and main events and all this stuff, and I'm sure a lot of ego had to do with that as far as him go. I'm sure too much too soon.
Yeah, and with him also, the only experience he had before he went to Jim Crockett was in Florida. He was in Florida for a year, maybe.
Yeah, he was the Florida heavyweight champion, because I remember Arn cutting a promo like after Luger had gotten kicked out of the Horsemen, and he said, James J. Dillon came to us, said, I got this kid in the Everglades, that's with $1 million body, but he's green, but he's willing to learn. And it's like that was Lex Luger. And it's like, and then Luger was always, he was always one of the focal points in WCW. So it's like, that had to push that ego of his even further. So I'm glad he's been able to turn it around. I mean, I hate that he's in a wheelchair, but I mean, at least he's still alive. At least he's still with us. So,
and of course, every single person that we were going to go up to their booth, Of course, Tatanka, he was the first one we saw because he was one of the only ones that was set up when we got there.
Oh,
but he was one of the ones I was wanting to meet anyway.
Right.
Because he and I actually talked a little bit about North Carolina because where he was born in Pembroke, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And what he kept talking about, he's like, yeah, my tribal headquarters is there, and because he's part of the Lumbee Nation.
Yeah.
And so he goes back there all the time. But he said, "Are you from North Carolina?" I said, "Yeah, Aberdeen." And he's like, "Oh, okay," because it's like the next county over.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking a little bit about that. Super nice guy, big dude too. Because sometimes we just don't think about
Yeah.
how big these wrestlers really are. But he was a big dude. But of course, the one that we had already paid to see and meet, the biggest one in the room, that'd be Kane. That'd be Glenn Jacobs.
Yep.
Um,
Mayor of Knox County.
Mayor of Knox County. And I actually told my mom and my stepdad when I called them yesterday, I said, yeah, I met the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee this weekend. They're like, oh, really? How'd that happen? I was like, well, they had no idea that, because they don't watch wrestling. I said, yeah,
Right.
he's Kane. He's the Undertaker's brother. Like, he's the Undertaker's brother? I'm like, well, in storyline, but
kayfabe, but yeah.
But I mean, he was a nice dude. That line was long. We were, I think, number 10 out of about 250. They only had 250 tickets sold because that's all they were selling. That one was actually limited. So if you wanted to,
wow,
yeah. But but we were around number 10, I'm guessing ish.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because we saw the line forming and we got in it. Maybe 20. But I mean, we were still fairly early because he was all the way at the back. In fact, he was actually right beside Jake the Snake, and they had his table set up. The line, he was all the way at the back of this gym at the Ohio University Chillicothe campus. That's where it was held. So, and the Hilltoppers, which is kind of like Western Kentucky. If you ever go to the campus, you know why it's called the Hilltoppers.
Yep.
But the line went all the way down, like the length of the floor, and then went all the way down, all the way to the other corner.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that line was just long. But we did get to talk to him a little bit because I mentioned to him, I said, by the way, I said, just like you, I said, my son was also born on a military base overseas. And he's like, really? And, and he talked to him a little bit. He gave him a fist bump. And, so, yeah, because he was actually born, I think it was El Toro Air Station in Spain.
In Spain, yeah.
Yep. And so, so they had that little bit of a bond. I kind of planted that a little bit to see, but yeah, he was a nice guy. Jake actually talked to Leighton for a little bit.
Really?
Cool. Yeah. Well, I was talking to the other guy, about like the money and the t-shirt. He's like, yeah, I don't think we have any your size. He said, you're kind of like me. You're a big dude. I said, you got 3X. He's like, nope, because he actually has you can actually see in the background of the picture that we have with Jake. You can actually see the shirt he was selling. It was actually pretty cool.
Okay.
That line for him to see him was not as long as what you would expect, but I imagine after the other lines dissipated, because people just see, they didn't even may not even realize he was there because he was right beside Kane.
Yeah,
he was like on the other side of Kane. Like there in that corner, and like I said, in the caddy corner of that was Baby Doll. And I'm laughing at that one. If anybody knows the history there, because they are ex brother and sister-in-law.
Yep.
Well, guess who was on the other side of the gym?
Sam Houston.
And I did talk to him, but I showed him the picture. I said, yeah, I met you last March. He's like, okay. He said, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. He said, you're wearing the same shirt. I'm like, yeah, this is the exact same shirt. And I said, in fact, the very first time I ever wore this shirt was that day. He's like, all right, cool. Talked to him, and I said, is this still the same contact info to, if I want to have you on the podcast? He's like, yeah. He said, just give them a call and we'll work it out.
Right.
And what he said before is, yeah, we'll work out the hourly rate. And I'm like, really, dude? So, I mean, we'll figure something out. But yeah, and he's still carrying the U.S. belt.
He was never the United States champion.
He was never the United States champion. So
I'm still I've been trying to figure that out since first time you met him. It's like, whose U.S. title does he have?
And I actually. Oh, by the way, speaking of Sam Houston, you remember that logo that I showed, that weird one? It's his.
Oh, okay.
I meant to take a picture while I was there and send it to you. Hey, I found out whose logo it was, which makes sense because the big envelope that they had given me was actually given to me by them.
Oh, okay.
And so it makes sense that that sticker was
Yeah.
in that. So, but yeah, I mean, and he's still nice guy, big guy, which also makes sense because you got to think about. I don't want to mention their dad's name because one of the biggest scumbags in the history of wrestling,
But he was a big guy.
he was a big guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 6'9", 6'10" back when that was even more rare than what it is now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you look now, every NBA team has at least one guy who's about 6'10".
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Florida State always has somebody who's that height.
Yeah.
You would think they would do better than what they actually do, having that kind of height. But then again,
yeah,
height doesn't mean skill.
No, not always.
Nope. But yeah, they were at opposite ends. And because if I remember from the Dark Side of the Ring, Jake and Sam, they don't really talk.
No.
Well, Aurelian Smith Jr. and Mike Smith.
Yeah.
Don't really talk. I did not see Nicola Roberts Bird, actually, because she's remarried.
Rock and Robin, yeah.
Well, Rock and Robin wasn't there. Their sister.
Oh, yeah,
she wasn't there.
But,
yeah. But Nicola Roberts, I mean, she was there. I didn't see her talk with. Not that I mean,
really?
What? But and I will admit it was kind of cool because when you'd see these wrestlers come in, Bushwhacker Luke was there.
Oh, okay.
I actually wanted to. The line for him was a little long, but I wanted to meet him. But like I said, we were having to watch the money too.
Yeah.
I just want to say I liked you better when you were the sheep herders, but
yes. So that's funny because a thing popped up on my Facebook feed like yesterday, on one of the wrestling pages I follow talking about the sheep herders.
Yes.
It showed like they were the last ever UWF World Tag Team Champions.
Oh, they were. That's right.
Yep, and it was right before they went to WWE to become the Bushwhackers.
Which, when they came with the Bushwhackers, I'm just sitting. I had this face like,
yeah, it's like, and like some of my friends were like, "What's wrong with you?" And it's like, that's the sheep herders, and what have they done to them? Because
what are they doing with their arms?
Yeah, what is all this and licking each other's faces and just and cheering to the crowd? These guys wrestled where you had to have an ambulance on standby because somebody needed a transfusion. These were violent dudes.
Yes, and I mean that was one of them teams that I saw in like every wrestling magazine, not just the After Mags, but the other wrestling magazines as well.
And you generally with a bloody face,
with black and white pictures with a bloody face, and it still looked pretty gory.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there the whole time they were in WWF. I was waiting for them to turn heel, and it never happened.
No, but I'll give them all the credit for being able to prolong, extend their career doing the fun kid stuff.
Yeah,
they put their bodies on the line enough during their heyday as a sheep herder. So,
yeah, and I mean, and I'm pretty sure that them checks they were cashing.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure those were not bad checks they were cashing, especially during that time, because not only did you have you had your wrestling check, but then that's when the wrestling figure, the wrestling action figure boom really happened. So, they're getting all those royalties from those toys. So.
Oh, and the Warlord, like I said, he was on the other side of Nicola Roberts because, I mean, she managed him, for a bit when he first came into Jim Crockett.
Yep.
Yeah, but just seeing, and the stuff that we don't think about, if you and I saw each other, it'd be like a great big hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of these folks, I mean, they were friends for years, and they haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
Since God knows when. I mean, so to see them, they're going, the handshake, they're giving big old hugs because it's like, hey, Shane, talking about Shane Douglas, and I want to say it was Bushwhacker Luke. When he saw Shane Douglas, he gave him a big old hug and, oh, nice to see you and things like that. So we don't think about, I mean, their relationships are, as friends, even though there's no friends in wrestling. That's a bunch of crap. There is
that's a bunch of crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what people say in promos just to
But Jim
hype it
Ross
up.
has said that all the time because they're all competing for the spot or whatever, but at the same time, no, you're not going to have a business that's totally consists of everybody not working together and not getting along.
No, because your business ain't going to last that long.
Exactly. There are some other names I'll be honest with you, I did not recognize. The one guy, and I don't know, I didn't know the guy's name, but he was walking in a tuxedo and he was like walking to every booth and he was introducing who they were.
Oh, okay.
And some of them I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, if I showed you the list, I'd point out, this one here. Bobby Blaze was also there again. And once again, he had like no people like at his table, but he was talking to the other wrestlers,
Right.
But he lives in Ashland, or he's from Ashland, and he helps train. He's actually written a couple of books, and and Leighton was looking. I actually had to tell Leighton, I was like, you need to calm down, But of course, later on in the evening, of course, we left there. We went back to Mount Orb because Leighton didn't want to stay to watch the wrestling there. All right, fair enough. Because we were going to watch it. I said, all right, we'll watch the show in Mount Orb. Even though we had already paid to watch it in Chillicothe because it's a general admission ticket, which means, it includes the fan fest. So you're paying, so I was like, whatever. Well, we went back and watched the NWF in Mount Orb because I haven't watched the NWF since July.
Yeah, because you didn't get to go to the Summer Sizzler, did you?
No, didn't get to go to Summer Sizzler. There was a few of them that I just was not able to go to for whatever reason. Some of it was money. I mean, because money was and kind of still is very, very tight.
Yeah.
Because that's actually something else we were talking about before we start recording. It's like price of everything is going up. My paycheck's not.
Exactly.
So,
yep. I got to go to SummerSlam in August, and that'll probably be the last show I catch until next year. So
yeah, I mean, and I definitely feel you there because fortunately the NWF tickets are usually $15 at the most, and that's if you get like one of the ringside seats. But Mount Orb, being the Mount Orb show being 10 minutes from my house is also
right. That's always a plus. Yeah.
I was going to say, no, I have not been to an NWF show since at least July. I have been to a wrestling show that was one that happened where I met Jimmy Hart and Lance Archer.
Yeah, right.
But that one was not NWF, even though there was a couple of people who I've seen in the NWF there, like Lord Crew. He was in the main event. Right. Which I'd love to have him on the show. He's a super good dude. And he even said, he said, you got to catch me. He said, you got to email me and let me know. So he said he'd like to come on the show. So, cool. But when I was talking to Noah, Noah Gabriel, after the NWF event, which was that one was also a pretty good show. They always all the guys they always put on a good show. They really do. But I was telling him about because he actually didn't think I would go to the Mount Orb. He said I figured you'd be watching the one in Chillicothe. I was like, well, we were there, however. But I told him, I was like, I said, I haven't actually caught an NWF show in a few months, because of just various reasons. I said, the last time you were in Mount Orb, I was in Florida.
Yeah.
And Leighton was like, well, Bobby Blaze. Okay, yes, I feel bad for Bobby Blaze sitting there at a table and nobody's coming up to him. Because I mentioned to Leighton, and I know you've seen the movie The Wrestler.
Yes.
You remember the scene where they're doing the meet and greet? And they're all sitting there and there's like nobody there.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of felt like with him. And of course people showed up later in the movie, but there just wasn't that many.
Right.
And I mentioned that scene to Leighton. Well, when I mentioned the whole thing to Noah, like Bobby Blaze, I found out time you need to stop because that's still that's all he knows is wrestling.
Yeah, right.
He's written a couple books. And Leighton even mentioned, he said, he's only sold a couple thousand copies. So, but I mean, he's doing what he knows. He's doing what he loves.
Right.
So he must have made some money off of it. Because, but when I mentioned that the whole thing to Noah, I was like, Bobby Blaze. I said, there was like nobody at his table. And he said, wow. He said, sounds like the scene out of The Wrestler.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I said, wow. I said the exact same thing to my son. And I was like, so you've watched it? He's like, oh, he said it. I never thought about this. The movie The Wrestler is like a rite of passage, for wrestlers. It's like they pretty much have to watch it. I was like, wow, never occurred to me.
Yeah. Makes sense though.
Yeah. Just like people going to the military, specifically Marines, have watched Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my nephew who's in the Marines, yeah, he watched that movie quite a few times before he went. But I'm trying to think who else was at the Fan Fest. Brutus Beefcake. I wanted to talk to him and say, yeah, people called me Brutus for years after you started your garden shear crap. I did. People, hey, Brutus. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So heard that a lot. But yeah, him. Because I mentioned Shane Douglas. Rip Rogers, I saw him, but then all of a sudden he wasn't there.
Okay.
So I did meet a couple other podcasters. One of which developmentally speaking podcast. They have a YouTube channel. In fact, there's their card. I don't know if I can get a good without the glare on it.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a YouTube channel. In fact,
looks like the WrestleMania 17 logo.
Yep. In fact, they actually gave me two cards. The first one had a QR code that they were doing this to everybody there. You scanned it, and then it'll bring up their YouTube channel. You subscribe to it, and they're showing that you subscribe. And they would put your name in a like a fishbowl on a ticket to win something. I don't remember now what we're trying. I didn't win, obviously.
Okay.
But when I was talking to him, I said, yeah, how do you get? I showed him. So yeah, I'm subscribed to your channel, and they were trying to get it up to 400 subscribers. They didn't quite get there, but I know they were getting people there. But when I was talking to him, I said, yeah, I have a podcast as well. Because I'm pointing to everybody. I have a podcast. Look at my shirt. Podcast right here. I was like, look at the phone case.
Yeah.
So you can get one of these at tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast.
Yep.
You just tell what kind of phone you have, and it'll get the case and it'll send it to you. Yay. But the guy even said, he said, we may be able to do some cross promotion. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But he was asking me how many subscribers we had on YouTube. I'm like 48.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've been trying to build that. I said that one, that's one of the things. Once you start getting like a lot of subscribers, I mean, it is like the floodgates. I've kind of noticed, but it's just getting that initial.
Yep.
Like instead of one or two, just if you know anybody, if you're watching us on YouTube, go like, share, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We would love to have the magic number 100, which allows us to get a good URL.
Yeah.
But I guess as you get higher, my 12-year-old, Brand 12 as of 2 weeks ago, son can tell you all about how many subscribers it takes to do certain things.
My 16-year-old can do the same thing.
Why do they know these things?
I don't know, but they do.
But they do. And I'm pretty sure my daughter, who has, I'm actually going to go look on her YouTube real quick, because she might actually have over 1,000 subscribers on hers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because when she went viral or semi-viral on TikTok, which translated into, she went over 1,000 followers there, and that transferred or translated into a lot more subscribers on her YouTube. Okay, I was way off. She has 329 subscribers. But she hasn't been able to do a lot with. In fact, she hasn't posted anything in 2 months because of her working for Disney.
Yep.
Speaking of which, and then we'll have to actually eventually have to get onto what we were originally going to be talking about on the show, because we haven't got there yet. Next Monday, and the Monday following, I won't be able to record. But in 2 weeks, it's going to be Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm going out. I'm going to be trick or treating. By the way, I'm going to be wearing this while I'm trick or treating. This is my brand new mask, courtesy of Wrestling Loot. I actually talked to them about maybe being on the show as well. Cool. But yeah, the Wrestling Loot, they do the boxes where they send you out stuff every month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but this was the mask, which goes along kind of sort of with this one. They said they don't have this mask anymore because I actually showed him the picture of it, and he said, "Yeah, we don't have that one anymore. We're out of it. This one I need to put string in.
Yeah.
So I can't really wear it without the string. This one already has string, so it's good to go. But I'm going to be wearing this on Halloween in 2 weeks. That's why we won't be able to record that day because I seriously doubt we'd be back in time to record. But next month, yeah. So next Monday, though, during the time we're recording, I'm going to be driving out to the airport to pick up my daughter because she is flying in for a couple of days.
There you go.
And I have not seen her in, since the early August. And, so that's definitely something that's going to take a little bit of priority.
Oh, yeah. So, like we always say, family first.
Family first. And so I had, she's obviously, the missing part of our family. Mm-hmm. And she's flying in Monday. She works Monday, gets off at 2:00, goes to the airport, gets on a plane, flies here Thursday morning. We're actually going Thursday around noon. She gets back on a plane, heads back down to Orlando, and my wife has already arranged a car for her to take her directly to work because she has to be at work at 5.
Oh, wow.
So she's going to have her costume with her,
there you go,
and go straight there, change, and go right to work.
Yeah.
Although I would never recommend that because I've done things like that where you get off the plane and you're like, right to work,
like and running,
yeah. I mean, even if it is in the same time zone, it's still, I mean,
mm-hmm.
like because flying just takes it out of you.
Yeah.
So but she's going to be here next week, and so we'll be reporting Monday. We should be good to go Thursday because I'm taking Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday off.
There you go. So, I don't blame you.
Yep, and I deserve to have some days off.
Absolutely.
Nobody else does, just me. So but yeah, so she has 329 subscribers. And if you're she has good just to see her movie reviews, because that's actually something else that some of her I just got off of YouTube. Some of her videos have like a few thousand views, which doesn't sound like a lot when you think about the ones that are getting like 1 billion views. But if you ever set up a YouTube channel, which you have a YouTube channel, 1,000 views, that's kind of a milestone.
Oh yeah.
And so we know how hard it is to get that. I think our YouTube video with the highest number of views, I think, is our interview with Buff.
Yeah. Yep.
So in fact, I haven't even checked to see how many views that one has. Where are we at? That can't get off that. Let me see. Dusty Rose has 2 views so far. We have subscribers. I don't know why we're not getting the views.
I don't know.
Wow. The return of Big Mama to the show, that one actually has 424 views.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. I didn't realize that. Which, ironically enough, that was also the one that got copyrighted. But
yeah.
But Buff has 501 views.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, wow, the one with Ella has 144 views. That's the third. Yeah, because even if you get notifications, I mean, people doesn't necessarily mean people are going to watch it, So, and I know I've actually been asked how many subscribers we have to the audio. I don't know because we don't get notification by how many subscribers. Right. I just get told how many downloads there are.
Yeah.
And how many listens there are. Now I can see where people are, downloading it from. Because I know every time, you download an episode, I can see it.
Yeah.
Every time Kyle, because he's in, Maryland. Yeah. And I know where he's at in Maryland. And I can see, whenever at least I'm assuming it's him because it's in the same town. So and he's always giving me feedback, so I know he's listening. So
right.
And speaking of that real quick, and then we definitely got to move on to the things we were
Yeah,
going to talk about.
we're gonna run out of time if we don't.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch SmackDown on Friday when they mentioned, was it Karrion Kross?
I did not. I haven't watched it yet.
Let's see, because I texted Kyle about it. LA Knight. It wasn't Karrion Kross. It was LA Knight. They billed him as being from Hagersville, Maryland. I'm like, Hagersville? I looked it up. Sure enough, it's Hagers. He's from Hagerstown.
Oh, okay.
So I had to text Kyle because that's where he lives. So
probably just being a WWE thing, and they just didn't want to say. They wanted to make it seem like he was from a bigger place than he actually is by saying Ville instead of town.
Either that, they just got the name wrong.
Yeah, that could be
that could be it too. But because sometimes you just screw up.
Yeah.
Of course, saying Hopkinsville makes it sound bigger than saying Hoptown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Avery was texted me. I said, recording right now. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And all right. So there's 2 texts that you sent me today. I'm like, hey, perfect.
Yeah. Looking at the article I sent you.
The first one or the second one?
I can't remember. It's the Cultaholics one where they're talking about the UFC owners are open to buying WWE.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Well, it says, I'll read you, the article's short, so I'll go ahead and read it for everybody. It says, a major corporation are interested in purchasing WWE. Speaking on the Town podcast, Endeavor president Mark Shapiro. Endeavor is the company that is the parent company of UFC. But Endeavor president Mark Shapiro revealed that they would be interested in buying the professional wrestling company. A quote from Shapiro is, that would be something that would be interesting and worth exploring. Would we buy it? Who knows? Last I checked, it wasn't for sale. We're interested in anything in the owned sports properties segment. Endeavor are the parent company of UFC, having bought a controlling interest in the MMA organization in 2016 for just over $4 billion. WWE's market value is believed to be approximately at 5.63 billion. There's been a speculation about a sale following Vince McMahon's resignation as CEO and chairman of the board, which caused a major boost in the company's stock price. Imagine that.
Yeah.
The crazy old man's gone, and then the stock soars.
I knew I should have bought some
when
that happened. And anyway.
But they said there's been no hint that WWE are looking to sell. Any sale would still need to be approved by Vince McMahon, as he remains the company's majority shareholder.
Yep.
And organizations touted in the past as potential buyers of WWE include Disney, Comcast, Amazon, Netflix, and Fox.
Wow.
But I think it's just mere speculation at this point. I think it was just Shapiro saying that if it went up for sale, he would absolutely be interested in buying it. But I don't think they're interested in selling it right now. Triple H has done wonders with that company since taking over. Speaking of Triple H, he is not at Raw tonight. He did test positive for COVID. So, we hope hope
I've heard of that.
Hope he gets well soon. You and I both had COVID, so we know
it sucks. Yes. I've had it twice. I think you've also had it at least twice.
Yep.
No fun. I just laid there. Yeah. Like going, I hurt. My hair hurts.
Yeah. Everything hurt. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery from COVID, but he's done an amazing job. I don't think they're going to be. I think the only reason they may have been looking to sell was because Vince McMahon was just all about the dollar sign.
Mm-hmm.
He was never about he was about the prosperity of the company to be able to sell it.
Right.
To make it look good to potential buyers. Triple H seems like he wants the company to prosper because he wants to run a successful wrestling company. He wants to put on good shows and good matches and things like that, which is what most promoters want to do. So I think this was just something that came across Cultaholic's desk and was an interesting topic. But I don't think there's anything to come of it right now.
Cultaholic, by the way, they're one of my favorite
Mine
wrestling
too.
channels on
Yep,
YouTube.
mine too. Yep.
And they usually have some really good information.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I can't see them buying them because I can't see them being sold.
No.
Because Triple H, he's probably been just waiting
Oh yeah.
and waiting,
Yep. And waiting.
going, you know what? When I take over, okay,
Yeah.
first thing, Bray Wyatt's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Karrion Kross is coming, and he was marking these things off as they're being released. He's like, "Well,
Yeah.
I'll be bringing them back."
Yeah. And from what I understand, they said to keep your eye out because there's going to be more people coming back that were released under Vince McMahon's watch. Bronson Reed, who goes by Noah on the independent scene. I'm not Noah, Jonah. He's been rumored to come back. We've seen how LA Knight's back, which he wasn't released, but they gave him a dumb gimmick, which did not suit him at all.
Yeah.
But then your Karrion Kross is back, your Braun Strowman's back, just people who never should have got cut in the first place.
It's Karrion Kross and Scarlett, because that was a package deal.
Yep. And so look for more people to come back that as long as they're not under contract with another major promotion, then look for them to come back because Triple H is trying to, because they gutted the roster so bad during COVID that both shows like a stacked roster with NXT, and then they started cutting that too. So I think this is a good thing. Overall, I'm pleased with the job Triple H is doing.
Yeah, because he was a wrestler with a vision of, because he wanted to move up and he actually, Triple H is called flack for marrying the boss's daughter.
Yeah.
If you marry the boss's daughter and you're put in a position of power, you're going to catch flack.
Yeah.
But he's actually not abusing it.
No, he's not abusing it, and he's actually done positive things with it. He didn't just marry the boss's daughter, marry into the family, get some power, and just not do anything with it. He's actually trying to build toward the future.
Right. And you can tell, they took NXT away from this tie-dye, multicolor, or whatever that was. Back to a basic two-color scheme, which worked. There was no reason to change it.
Yep.
And believe me, and I do believe, yes, you do have to evolve things like that, but you can't go too fast. It has to be natural,
you can't go too fast, and you can't just go you can't go from the black and gold to looking like a 90s trapper keeper. I mean, you can't do that. You just can't.
Oh, well, it did, didn't it?
It did.
Because I'm now thinking of Saved by the Bell. Those kind of colors. That's what it was.
Exactly.
Oh man, they're like Screech died. We got to do something in tribute to him.
Yeah.
And Screech wasn't the star of the show.
You're right. Yeah.
But may he rest in peace. I mean,
yeah.
But it just did not work.
No, it didn't work at all.
And there's some other people who were, I guess, removed from their positions, and they've done some changes around. Kevin Dunn's still there.
Yeah.
Which that's one of the things, the camera stuff, they need to still work on that.
Yeah.
Having bouncy camera, all it's doing is making your home viewer sick.
Yeah.
There's been times, I actually had to look away. I'm like, I can't watch this because it's just, it's bouncing around too much.
Yeah.
It looks like, you hand somebody a home video camera. And they had to put, look, earthquake.
It's like it's like he watched the first Taken movie 10 years too late and decided, the shaky cam. I'm going to use that.
I'm going to use that for every match.
For every angle, especially when they go into you hit the turnbuckle and all that stuff. Ooh, shake it. No.
Yeah, shake it. Shake it, slap your thigh. And
Yeah.
didn't matter what move they're doing a headlock, you make sure you slap your leg.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing I sent you was they canceled day one, the day one pay-per-view.
That's you sent that one to me, I think yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, yeah.
No. Was it yesterday? Was it this? I think that might have been the first one I sent.
Maybe you sent me 3 things.
Let me see. I sent.
Yeah, you sent that one to me yesterday.
Yeah. They canceled the day one pay-per-view,
and my response was just one word:
good.
So
yeah.
The next one was once again Cultaholic. Major changes coming to WWE pay-per-views in 2023, and and I figures I would just click off of the link and didn't mean to. Somebody replied, since they started the monthly pay-per-views way back with the In Your House, which I'm kind of glad they went away from that, because that was going to be too hard to keep up with. It's kind of like the WCW Clash of the Champions.
Yeah.
I stopped trying to even keep track,
Yeah.
But now it looks like it's and they're not going to have 12 a year. And I sent you somebody had tweeted that, and it's a pretty good graphic. I mean, I wish I'd have came up with this. I mean, but yeah, this is really good. 9 pay-per-views, and these make sense. The Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Mania, King of the Ring. Oh, that means they're bringing King of the Ring back.
Yep.
Money in the Bank.
Which Triple H is a fan of King of the Ring because he's a former King of the Ring.
Yeah, so he gets. I mean, that's
he gets
the
he gets the importance of the King of the Ring tournament.
Yep. Money in the Bank, SummerSlam. What's this one?
UK Premium.
Oh, UK. I was like, what is
PLE? What is
Evolution, which I'm like, whatever. And Survivor Series.
I am good. I'm glad that if this is the actual schedule for the pay-per-views next year, I'm glad they're bringing back Evolution. I always felt that should be an annual thing. These women work hard, and a lot of times, especially
that's what it was. I was
regime,
wondering, what was Evolution? I was like,
it was the all women's pay-per-view, because I mean, the first one was great, and I was able to sit there with both of my daughters, and for them to see this is, for me, it gave women, and especially young girls, it shows go and work just as hard as everybody else, and this is what you can do.
I want to say Vince was saying that it didn't.
He was saying it didn't make money.
He didn't want it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was never a matter of it didn't make money, because it did. It did great, viewership wise and whatever. Vince just didn't like the idea, because Vince still has old antiquated ideas of what pro wrestling should be.
Right.
Vince has no clue. If you're not out there looking like a swimsuit model, then Vince doesn't care.
Right.
And that's not what women's wrestling is nowadays. Watch any promotion, watch any legitimate professional wrestling promotion. I mean, and they're putting on just as good as matches as the men's. 9 times out of 10, the women's match is the best match on the card.
And that's been going on for the men had to step it up.
They really did.
Like, look here, you're getting outshined.
Yeah, you're getting outshined.
Yeah,
every single time. And I mean, you look at an AEW show or an Impact show, WWE. You look at Stardom, which is tied into New Japan Pro Wrestling. These women are killing it everywhere. So I'm all for them getting their time to shine and having their own pay-per-view to be able to show what they can do without having to get their time cut to get this extra men's match in, or get their match just completely taken off, which we've seen happen on pay-per-views because another match went too long, so they always sacrifice the women's match. And it's like, let's just not do that and let the women have their turn.
And we've seen the women headline WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many times have we said Sasha and Bianca, that match, and you know the match I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that was one of the best matches I've ever seen. I mean,
Me too. And it definitely stole WrestleMania weekend that year.
it did. I mean, and
I
that was
mean,
the first night.
yeah, and
It's like,
that was the match that everybody was talking about. Like the
mm-hmm.
rest of that year, everybody, you talk about what was the best match of the year. A lot of people were talking about Sasha and Bianca.
And you know, they weren't saying, "Well, look at the historical significance." It was a good match.
Yeah,
Period.
the historical
That's what they were
significance added to it.
added to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was the best match
yep,
of both the entire weekend. Period.
yeah.
You know, because I mean, I was like texting you, going, "Oh my god!" I mean, because they stole the show. They raised the bar. And it's like y'all come and y'all try to beat this,
Yeah.
and they couldn't.
Not at all.
Yeah, and then 4 months later, Becky beat Bianca in 28 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
which
but
I don't even think Becky liked that. To be honest
no.
with you. But I did notice that they don't have Crown Jewel list on here, but we know that's part of it because they have some.
Yeah, because they still have. Yeah, they're still under contract with the Saudi government. I know that it was a 10-year deal whenever it started. So I mean, they've still got several years on that deal.
Yeah,
But
and they're getting paid a lot of money apparently.
yeah,
And so that's why you just kind of, it's like you want to see who wrestling
yeah,
who.
yeah.
Um.
But
Oh,
I'm good with 9 pay-per-views if they keep it like this. Even if you slide Crown Jewel in, which I don't really count
but
because
Crown Jewel really doesn't affect the storylines too
no, and
much.
the way it comes on like middle of the day on a Thursday. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's not it's not really part of the pay-per-view canon, so to speak.
Right.
But 9 is perfect because you've got enough time to flesh out your stories. You don't have to rush storylines for
Bingo.
3 weeks at a time.
Bingo.
Because when they were having 12, 13 pay-per-views a year, it's like you're just hot shotting everything 3 weeks out because that's how much time was between
Oh,
every pay-per-view.
think about a few years ago when they did the last time they did a brand split,
Mm-hmm.
and each brand had their own pay per view every month, so it was closer to about 16 a year
Yeah.
because you had the handful that were both brands combined.
Yep.
Just like every 2 weeks there's a pay per view, and I'm like, there's some of them I missed. I'm like, I'm not staying. I'm tired.
It's like one, I'm not staying up for it, and one, I'm not buying all these. No,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
this was before the advent of the network. You know, you got 16 pay-per-views. You're charging $40 a piece or more. Who's got that kind of money to buy
not
16
me.
pay-per-views? No, I sure didn't.
I mean, we've already established. Look, prices are going up. My paycheck's not. So
Exactly. It's
now
like
with the network, yeah,
here's my grocery bill, but my paycheck's still right here.
yeah, and I got more month at the end of my money, and that's not good.
Yeah.
And yeah, and now, and that's actually something else Triple H has been doing anyway. He's been letting these storylines build where it's not just a month long storyline. Okay, that's over, move on. No,
Exactly.
it's crossing,
Yeah. And
pay per
like
views.
even with your champions, it's like they're doing longer stories to actually tell the story, not just going from challenger to challenger with barely any story. And it's like it's not a hard concept. And the having 9 or 10 shows a year instead of 13 to 16 gives you that breathing room to
Yes.
build your story and tell it in a logical way, not just, oh well, we've written ourselves into a corner again, so let's book something stupid so we can thinking we're getting out of it, but we're just making it worse.
And these are the ones that actually make sense because
Yeah.
I can't think of every single one of these has a purpose.
Yeah. The
You know,
Rumble, the Royal Rumbles, we all know that's the beginning of the road to WrestleMania.
mm-hmm.
Whoever wins the Rumble gets the title shot.
Yep.
Elimination Chamber in the past has been used to decide other challengers or whatever,
Sometimes it's
after
actually decided the title.
yeah. And then of course, you got WrestleMania, biggest show of the year, King of the Ring tournament. Generally, a lot of times the King of the Ring tournament. I remember last time that it was an actual pay-per-view was 2002 when Lesnar won. but the stipulation of the tournament was whoever won got the title shot at SummerSlam.
They get yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
and they get the title. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah. So you can use King of the Ring. Whoever wins King of the Ring gets a shot at the title at SummerSlam. Then you move on to Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank in itself is an important pay-per-view because you've got one full year to cash in the briefcase, the men's and the women's. So that doesn't have to play into SummerSlam at all if you've already booked King of the Ring right and you've got your main event match built for that. So then Money in the Bank is just bring some of that mystery back to the Money in the Bank to where oh, well, don't telegraph it to where, oh, every time because they've had it booked the several years, every time a woman wins Money in the Bank, they would cash it in that night. And it got to be expected. And it's like, bring back some of the mystery of that.
The only exception I can think of was actually the very first one when what's his face, No Chin, he went up there and dropped the.
Yeah, because then they had to do it again on SmackDown.
And then he did it again.
And
then finally Carmella just flat out won it.
Yeah.
But No Chin. Anyway.
Yeah. And then you've got the UK pay-per-view.
Which was a big success this year.
Yeah, which is a huge success this year. So why not do it again? Then you've got Evolution. We've already discussed it. Then you got Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Then that's it.
Survivor Series is one of the original Big Four.
Exactly.
Or Big Five if you want to. Let's see, Rumble, Mania, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Right.
And Survivor Series, they don't do like the big gimmick, the elimination matches anymore because, to be honest with you, they get kind of boring. So they start to have it be a traditional. They may have one elimination match, maybe two, but
usually they have a men's. Usually they have a men's and a women's, and then everything else is just standard matches.
But I'm not seeing a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I'm not seeing Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Now, this past one actually went off good.
Yeah, it actually went off pretty good. But anybody that's listened to this show since I've been a part of it knows that I've not been a fan ever of the using a gimmick to build a pay-per-view around.
Yeah, like TLC, there's another one.
TLC should have never been a pay-per-view. Hell in a Cell should have never been a pay-per-view. Honestly, Extreme Rules should have never been a pay-per-view. Those you should have Extreme Rules matches.
Yeah, it's too gimmicky.
And from the report that we saw from Cultaholic, WWE is talking about getting away from a lot of the more gimmicky pay-per-views. I'm perfectly fine with that because you don't need a TLC pay-per-view. You've already got Money in the Bank. TLC is tables, ladders, and chairs. You're going to use all that in the Money in the Bank,
and it dilutes the actual significance of those matches anyway.
Yeah,
because Vince looked at WrestleMania 2000, the SummerSlam, and then the very next WrestleMania again, where you had those three, especially the last one, the three classic TLC matches with three teams.
Yeah,
who were they were all at. Not necessarily their prime, but the three of them together, could just
because you had the triangle ladder match, which is what they called it at WrestleMania 2000, and then SummerSlam 2000, you had the very first TLC match.
Yep.
Then they did TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, which is still my favorite out of all three. But but that told a story. That told a long-term story with these three teams. But it never needed to be its own pay-per-view because like you said, that just dilutes the stipulation.
Yeah.
So maybe now we'll get Hell in a Cell just dropped in, kind of like they did Crown Jewel with Edge and Seth Rollins, where they used Hell in a Cell to end the feud.
Yes.
Because that's what Hell in a Cell
That's what Hell in a Cell is supposed to be.
That's what it was designed for. That's why it could be dropped at any pay-per-view, whether it be WrestleMania, SummerSlam, anywhere. It's a feud ender. That's it. The only time you can't drop that in is Elimination Chamber because I think they clash.
They would.
They would clash. Don't do it at the Rumble because the Rumble match itself is the attraction of the pay-per-view.
Yep.
But any of the other pay-per-views, drop it in there. And if you've got a feud that there's no other way you can end it, put them in the cell, and end it.
And just have one match there. Don't have
Yeah.
2 or 3. Just have one.
Doesn't it? Yeah, because again, it dilutes it. You don't have 2 or 3 of the same match stipulation on the same show, because it's like, why am I supposed to care about this first one when you've got one here, one in the middle, and one at the end? Which one am I supposed to care about?
Right. And the Rumble, now there's 2 Rumble matches, one for the women, one for the men.
Yeah.
And that one, you can't do a Rumble match every pay-per-view.
No.
The only exception which they've had, which did work, but was the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
There was, it was 60 advertised, I guess only 59. Oh no, that was like the next time they did a big battle royal, and it was supposed to be 50 people, and it was like 49 or something.
Yeah.
But the 60 one, because it was 60 people, you're like, okay, who's the next one? Who's the next one? And then that's when we did get to see like Aziz. That was the first time we ever saw him.
Yep.
And how big he is. And I'm going, man, I can't wait to see him, in WWE. And then 3 years later, 4 years later, he finally showed up.
Yeah.
And they misused him, of course.
Of course.
But that was where Titus bit it and would slide into the ring.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, his chest looked like, hamburger meat at the end of it. And there was Chris Jericho. That was like one of his last WWE appearances.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise appearance. But I mean, that one was okay, but you can't, they know you can't do that match all the time either.
Right.
It's like, y'all know that for that. And I get it, 30 people, and so you can't do that one all the time. Why don't you have that same mentality with Hell in a Cell and TLC? Because demolition derbies don't, people like watching them like once. They don't like watching them every week.
Yeah, I've been to a demolition derby recently, and it's like, it's once, but I don't want to go every weekend and watch it.
Right. I mean, they're fun to watch. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
And Vince never really got there. He just said, well, they liked it once, we'll just keep pushing.
Yep.
After a while, it's no longer unique.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if they liked it one time and we keep giving it to them, then we don't have to be very creative and come up with anything else to draw them into the show.
Right.
We just use the same old gimmick every single time, and people get turned off by that. It's just, after a while, it's like, no.
I'm just very thankful that they haven't brought back the Punjabi prison match again.
Oh God, the last one with Orton and Jinder Mahal was actually entertaining. There was some parts,
but it was hard to watch. And I say that, I mean, it was literally hard to watch because of the way it was designed.
Yeah, the way the structure is designed, it's extremely hard to watch. So I'm with you. I'm glad they didn't bring that back. But this should be pretty interesting, them dialing back the pay-per-views and getting away from the gimmick stuff. So I think it's going to make people look forward to the pay-per-views more, because you can put a TLC match at SummerSlam, or you could put a Hell in a Cell match at the UK pay-per-view, or or whatever, and have an Extreme Rules match at the King of the Ring, because the King of the Ring has the tournament, but they also have other matches as well. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Like, this is a rumored list of what the pay-per-views are going to be for 2023. So we do have to take that with a grain of salt. So we will have to see. But I think if this is legit, then I think it's this very good step in the right direction.
Yep. I mean, I like the list. And I'll be glad to bring back the King of the Ring tournament. And I know Vince did not like tournaments.
Me personally, I love tournaments, but
I mean, you can't do them all the time. It's one again.
Yeah, you can't do it. Yeah, you can't do them all the time, but there are times when it's warranted, and like King of the Ring is one of those.
Yes, because the King of the Ring means something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because look, Bret Hart was a 2-time winner. Owen Hart, Stone Cold, Triple H. Well, Mabel, that didn't work out as well. But
I mean, there's some that didn't work out as well. You had your Ken Shamrocks and your Billy Gunns and your Mabels, but
it was supposed to be
but King of the Ring was supposed to be your shot up the card. Triple H did it. Brock Lesnar,
Stone Cold really did it.
Yeah, Edge, Kurt Angle. So you know, they can really do wonders for somebody's career if booked right.
If booked right. So,
yeah.
Oh, because I'm trying to look at my list of stuff.
I think that was.
Oh, I was going to ask you what you thought about the Bray Wyatt promo.
I have not had a chance to watch it yet.
It was interesting.
I need to, but I've seen that on Twitter that it was very interesting, but I have not had a chance to watch it yet. I'm gonna try to catch it tonight. I've been that Hangman promo has just consumed me, so it was like that's been my thing here lately. But
well, the Bray Wyatt, it was more of a Wyndham Rotunda.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so
I did see that where people were like, he seems like he was like pouring his heart out. So
yeah. And then all of a sudden it just went black and
got weird.
Yeah, it was like, and he didn't speak again, and then show it off the air, and I'm like,
oh, okay.
Well, folks, I guess we'll tune in next week to find out what happened.
Yeah. So same bat time, same bat.
Yep. SmackDown. So, definitely watch it and let me know what you think.
Okay.
But yeah, and if you go to at Booking Armchair on Twitter, you can actually see the pictures of me and my son with Jake Roberts, with Nick, Nicola Roberts.
Yeah,
that was kind of a wild coincidence. The fact that he actually helped train her, that was actually something else.
Oh wow.
With Glenn Jacobs, also known as Kane, with Tatanka. And I could put some of the other pictures I just kind of took while I was there of Luger and Lawler sitting beside each other. And but yeah, go check that out. You go check out the rest of our social media. And like I said, next Monday and the Monday after that, we won't be recording, but we are still planning on recording on the Thursdays.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, hopefully, you won't miss us too bad. But until Thursday, my friend.
All right.
All right.
God bless.
Night. God bless.